So it's halfway down the world.
Yeah. If it was proper halfway down the world, there'd be a line. It's not like a thick line, but a one by one line. So it's exactly as possible.
Here at the Greenwich Observatory in London is where time starts and stops. Since the 19th century, the prime meridian at the Greenwich Observatory has served as a reference line for GMT and is the line by which this time zone adheres to, which also means that being in front of it or behind it can change what time zone you're in, if you move far enough. However, many people were used to changing time when they went to a different place, a few hundred years ago, since there were local times determined by sundials in each town. The introduction of the railways and industrialisation had to revolutionise the keeping of time in order to make it easier for trains to run on time, and therefore make them run more efficiently. It just wasn't practical for everywhere to keep their own time. The time kept here at the Royal Observatory, Greenwich Mean Time, became the standard for the UK. By 1855, nearly all of the public clocks in Britain were set to GMT, and some were even fitted with two separate minute hands, which showed the local time and GMT, just to allow for the changeover to happen smoothly. Now sadly there aren't many clocks like this left in the UK. However, in Bristol at the Corn Exchange there is a prime example of this clock with two different coloured hands for local and GMT time, the red hand showing GMT and the black one showing Bristol time. While on the topic of clocks, we may as well mention the clock here at the Royal Observatory, the Shepherd Clock. One of the first clocks to publicly show GMT to the public in 1852, another unusual feature of it is the 24-hour dial. Uncommonly, in comparison to other 24-hour dials, at midday, instead of pointing up, the single hand points straight down to 12 o'clock. Even now, it is a tourist attraction for many to come and see, but has less practical use now, as you can find the time anywhere in the world with a quick Google search, or even preloaded into most smartphones with clock apps. Seconds should be our next port of call, as they underpin all our time systems. With 60 of these in a minute and 3,600 an hour, they are important in making sure all our timings are spot on. Until the 1950s, accurate time was based on the movements of stars and planets, but now we use crystals and atoms to tell the time. When an electric current is passed through a quartz crystal, it vibrates to a frequency that creates a regular pulse for a clock mechanism. By the 1940s, quartz clocks had replaced pendulum regulators in the world's observatories. Atomic clocks work by analysing the photons absorbed and emitted by cesium atoms. Its accuracy is up to 2 nanoseconds per day, or a second every 1.4 million years. It's the most accurate realisation of a unit that mankind has yet achieved. The next generation of atomic ion trap clocks will be accurate to 1 second in billions of years. Therefore, horology nowadays is becoming a thing of the past, with many phone designers and manufacturers acting as horologists in their own right. Since horology can be defined as the art or science of measuring time, the construction of horologies, and so a horologist is one who is skilled in horology, a maker of timepieces, a clock or watchmaker. However, horology, like wood turning or blacksmithing, has become a rarity and is generally more of a hobby than a business. But lots of people still do have jobs in these sectors, keeping this traditional practice going. It could be argued that analog clocks, much like horologists, are getting left behind in this modern age of technology. With digital clocks dominating everyday life, it seems to be unnecessary that you need to read a clock with hands. It's a strange thought to think in 50 years the analog clock could be a thing of the past. With new inventions from companies such as Inventorprise reshaping the way we can view time on display, it could only be a matter of time before we stop seeing time as we know it. The 12 clock by Inventorprise allows you to read the time without numbers and without any hands on the clock. It can be seen on very small devices and give you near accurate time readings, as long as you know how it works. Different colours represent the different hours in the day, and in this example, the moon cycles are used to tell how many minutes have passed. Now we've covered the facts of time, I think it's about time we moved on to our perception of time. From why time flies when we're having fun, to why we think we've been napping for 10 minutes, but it's been 4 hours. The numerous ways we are misled by time have one simple and regular occurrence. For example, when we are out with our friends, it can seem that hours will pass in the blink of an eye, Our lack of glancing at the clock to see how long we've been out for is one of the main reasons we don't realise so much time has passed. If you think about a time when you've been bored, maybe in a classroom or waiting room, this tends to feel like you're waiting forever. But how many of these have clocks that you're regularly glancing at to check to see if time is up yet? When our minds aren't being stimulated and we are bored, our minds look forwards to things they would rather be doing, and looking at the clock gives us how long until we can do those things. Our awareness of the time is what leads us to thinking we have been experiencing something for ages. When you're out with your friends and hoping that it will be over soon, or when do you go to the cinema and think the film is taking ages to finish, unless you're watching a bad film, that is. On the other hand, when you look back on the school year once it's over, it will seem like it was over in a flash. This seems to be because only a few key moments may stick in your memory. Whereas when you think of a holiday that you really enjoyed and did loads of stuff in, it will feel like you're away for ages. Mainly because of all the great memories that you would have made when there. It's weird how this works in the opposite way, but that's just one of the wonders of the human mind. Going along with our fuzzy perception of time, we come on to the old myth of counting seconds with words. Now I decided to test this out to see if I could find a word that worked for me. From the data I collected, the word that I found worked best was 100, saying 100, 200 would give me the most accurate 2 seconds compared to the other words. The worst term I found was using 1000, saying it in a 1000 sort of setup, and so on. It worked this way for me, but since everyone has a different way of speaking, your mileage with this data may vary. Coming to the end of something isn't always the easiest thing to do. Unlike this video, everyone must finish at some point, as time will eventually run out for all of us. If you're skeptical like me, then you probably don't believe in life after death, or a ghostly presence carrying on in your wake after your days are finally numbered, but many people do, and I respect that. I feel it's great to hope this and think this way, but to me I just don't believe. In the world of parapsychology, however, Susan Blackmore spent a significant chunk of her time researching the afterlife for humans, to which her research came to no avail. No empirical evidence was found to support an afterlife in humans, but that doesn't necessarily mean there isn't an afterlife. She found no evidence, but if an afterlife existed, and ghosts do have a part to play in this world, and we haven't found evidence for them to exist, it doesn't mean they can't exist. They could, but without our knowledge, like within a parallel universe to ours, or through some means of science or technology that we haven't yet discovered. An iPhone would be magical and incomprehensible to someone who lived in Tudor times, or even 200 years ago. So what's to say in another 200 years we haven't found out what really happens when we die? To finish, I'd just like to finally describe what time is to me and my definition of it. My personal view on the way time works. To me, time is the number of seconds, minutes and hours to the next thing in my life. Time is structured through events and memories, and these are what give time its power. Time will never end and will keep running long after I'm dead and gone. However, time may only run in one direction, and we can't go back in time. Not yet anyway. But let's not dwell on what has happened, but look forward to what might happen in the future with an open mind. Hopefully, by watching this video you have learnt something, and I hope you enjoyed watching my project all about time.